Hello everybody. So I have a order from Amazon here. So I'm gonna do an unpackaging because it's not actually a box. So and explain what they are and then maybe do some tests on some of them. So first thing I'll do is get them open, show what they are. So you get the LBC packaging. That's the delivery company here in the Philippines. And then you got the Amazon packaging. First thing I needed was some guitar strings for my guitars. I got one guitar that hasn't been changed strings in probably 2, 3 years, and I had kids like to come in here and turn the knobs and break strings. I've had that happen a couple or three times, so I've had to replace some guitar strings on a couple of guitars. So I figured I'd get some to replace the strings that are bad and have some extras on hand. So I got 5 sets. These are uh, the Dario Excel nickel round, I can't talk today, nickel wound. Uh, these are number 10s through 46. So I'm not going to go in much into those. But the other thing I ordered that I want to try out and test out with video is it's a little filter set for the Osmo Pocket 3. Now, I'd never heard of this brand, so I thought I'd try them out. They're inexpensive. And Yingshijiang, is that how you say that? Yingshijiang? So let's open the box up here and have a look. Okay, I guess the top's here. Let's just get this plastic off the box and have a look at them and see what they're like. And I was going to get newers and better ones, but I couldn't get free shipping and everything. And ones that I could, there was import fees. So I said, well, these are inexpensive. I'll give them a try and see how they work. So get them open here. Sorry I don't have an overhead camera or anything set up to do this with. This was kind of spur of the moment, so I didn't have time to set anything up. Just wanted to get it open and checked out. Okay. Come in a little storage box. There's 4 of them. There is a ND filter. It's adjustable. I think there's 2 of them actually. Yeah. 2 adjustable ND filters. Camera can see that. 1 wide angle lens, which my Osmo Pocket 3 already has one, and a CPL filter. I think that's ND. One of them might be a polarizing filter. I have to check on that order. I'll put a picture in here of the order so you can see what it actually is. On the guitar strings, these, like I said, they're the Dario XLs nickel strings. Those were $31.99 with free shipping to the Philippines on eligible orders $49 or more. So that's kind of why I bought the filters for the Osmo Pocket 3. And the filters for the Osmo Pocket 3, as you can see here, were Yingshijiang or whatever that says. I'm not very good at reading these Chinese names, but like I said, it's Pocket 3 ND CPL filter 4 and black mist. So The ND, the one is ND2 to 32. That's the darkness of the filter, and the other one is ND64 to 512. And doesn't say anything here about the CPL filter being adjustable, but it has that, so that's something we'll test out. So the total order was like $64, I think. I'll have to check here. Yeah, I'm not going to show the invoice because it has personal information on it, but the total order was $64.98, free shipping to the Philippines. So that's what the items are and the listing on Amazon, what I paid for them. Comes with a little cleaning cloth. That's pretty cool. So open them up, see how thick they are. Okay, little plastic box. And compared to the wide angle lens that came with the Osmo, this is very, very thin. So like with the Osmo, if you shut it off, you know, when it sets itself, you can't do that with that lens on there. With these, you're supposed to be able to shut it off and leave this lens on and it won't hit the edge and knock the lens off or something like that. That's why these are so thin, I guess. And it adjusts from like, this goes from 1 to 5, and the other one goes from 6 to 9. So I'll get Osmo Pocket 3 out here, try them out and see how they work. See if they're any good. The boxes, nice to have, put them in. They hold in there solid. You can turn it upside down. They don't fall out. And it's like a spongy filling material there. So pretty handy little kit if everything works good. So I'll get the camera out and give these a test and be back. So we're going to test these out, and right now the camera is just running with my regular settings, no filters on it at all. So give a look around here real quick without filters. Let's see the car garage, and let's pan around toward the sun a little bit there. Okay, so now I have the first ND filter on. It's set on the first setting, which would be ND2. So what ND filter is basically like sunglasses for your camera, in case anybody doesn't know what that is. And it helps you get some settings for motion blur when doing video and stuff like that. If it's bright sun, and helps minimize glare and stuff like that. So that is setting 1. So now it's on setting 2. I'm not sure exactly what the ND number is on that, but this is setting 2. Pan around the same again. The sun is right up through there. Okay, now I'm on setting 3 on the ND filter. Now we're on setting 4 on the first ND filter. And now we're on setting 5, the highest setting on this ND filter. Okay, standing same spot. This is the lowest setting on this ND filter is number 6. The very hard to get a hold of without touching the lens. They're so small, and this one it's kind of hard to see the mark where the pointer for the number. Took me a second to figure that out, but let's give this one a pan around. This is setting 7. The sun's still up there. Okay, now we're on setting 8. It's really hard for me to tell if it's making a difference here in the display on the camera. And now we're on the highest setting on this ND filter. So, see how that works out. So now I have the CPL filter. What it does, it's supposed to cut down on reflections. So the only thing I see around here reflection is in the car window here. So I'm just going to test it out and see what it's like on that. So this is with the CPL filter on, reflections in the window of the car and all that. So I'll try to get it off now. So there's the reflections without the CPL filter. See if there's any difference at all. Like they're mostly made like if you're looking down at water, it's supposed to be able to cut out some of the reflection of the water so you can see into the water more with your camera, I guess, something like that. I've never used one before, but that's how those are supposed to work. And one final filter here is the black mist. I've never used one of those. And I will say these are so small that getting them off the camera, especially if I'm holding it with one hand, is really difficult. And I did drop one of them. I don't think it hurt it, but they're tiny and really hard to manipulate. Now that's the black mist filter. And I don't know the real purpose of a black mix filter. They say it's supposed to give it some kind of cool effect or something like that. Probably something I'll never really use, but I'll give the look around with it on there same as before. So I guess it adds mist to the video or something like that. I'm not really sure. I've seen people put, demonstrate them on YouTube and stuff, and I couldn't really tell a lot of difference myself. So let me get this filter off. So this time I'm going to run a test with camera settings in manual. I've got it set 4K, 30 frames per second. ISO is 100 and the frame rate is at 60 or 160 on the shutter speed. So pretty bright sunlight. I'm standing in the bright area at the moment. It's shade behind me. And that's looking out toward the sun, so I can tell everything's washed out pretty good. So now I got the first ND filter. Setting is on 1. Looking out like before. I can tell it's getting a little bit better. This is setting 2. Looking out toward the sun, not near as washed out. This is setting 3. I can tell it's getting a little darker now. Out toward the sun. Setting 4. In toward the sunlight. And this is setting 5. And I can tell I can just barely see me in the screen. And out toward the sunlight. So there's the test. In auto mode, you couldn't tell a lot of difference in the ND filters because the camera was compensating in auto mode. But in manual mode, it got so dark with the first filter, I didn't even go into the second one because it would have gotten so dark that wouldn't have been able to see me in it or see much of anything really. So the reason for the ND or neutral density filter is for a case like if you've seen in auto mode, when I would pan around, you get a little bit of jerkiness or, chop, 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 chop. And that's because the camera was controlling everything and it doesn't care about that. When you want to do video, you want your frame rate set like, say if your frame rate's at 30, you want your shutter speed at 160. It's like they call the 180 rule. Whatever your frame rate is, you set your shutter speed, last number, double that, and it gets rid of that chop, 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 chop. And it makes like a motion blur, and that's where these ND filters come in handy, is when you set the manual settings, you can get the darkness or have the where it's not so blown out like it was in the without the filter in manual settings. And as you've seen, as I went darker, it made the picture look much better until it got too dark. So it's kind of like you got to get your setting on your ND filter and the frame rate and everything set, and you don't have to worry about that chop, 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 chop. So that's one thing handy with the ND filters, because I hate when I do a video and you got that looks like choppiness in it. And for video, you want a smooth kind of give it a little motion blur. So that's where the ND filters come in handy. One thing I did notice about these is they're very thin. They're very hard to get off the camera without touching the lens. I can do it, but make sure it's in a spot where I don't drop, because I did drop one. It didn't hurt it, but don't like dropping them. And I've heard of people say, well, you stack your lenses, like you can use your wide angle lens and put an ND filter on that. And I tried that with the wide angle lens that came with the GoPro, and it's so thick that it wouldn't stick to it. Then I tried, stacking on top of the black mist filter, tried putting one of the ND filters on top of that, and the way the magnets are, it would throw it sideways, so you can't stack those. And I don't know if maybe the ones that they say you can stack are maybe the magnets are arranged in a certain way so they'll stay in line, but it doesn't work with these. So let me know what you think. I think they worked out pretty good for the price. I'm pretty amazed at how they worked compared to the price of some of the other more expensive ones. Maybe they're not perfect. I'm not real good at seeing the difference in those. So let me know what you think. Are these filters okay or do they suck? Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye, y'all.